Where are my Texans? All right. I knew I had some friends here. Awesome. It is so, so good to be here with you tonight in Atlanta. I've been looking forward to this weekend. And tonight, as Paul said, we are going to be breaking open John 10. And we're actually going to be doing that over the course of the entire weekend. But one of the most famous parts about John 10 is that this is where Jesus calls himself the Good Shepherd. We're going to focus on that tonight, but the only problem that I have with that is that I don't really know anything about shepherds. So I don't know about you, but I've never seen a shepherd. I've never met a shepherd before, here in America. But I want to share with you my one experience of a shepherd. And this comes from a project that I did with my oldest daughter for a group that she is in. So I would like to introduce you to this video of the girl who cried wolf.
Once upon a time, there was a little shepherd girl who loved her sheep and loved to take care of them. One day, the shepherd girl was feeling a little bit bored. Then she had an idea. I'll play a little trick on my mom and pretend like a wolf is coming to get me and my sheep.
Wolf! Wolf!
Her mother was in the kitchen doing some baking when she heard her little girl.
Wolf! Wolf! Okay. I'm just joking around. There's no wolf.
It wasn't long before the girl was bored again. She thought she'd play another trick.
Wolf, mother wolf. Okay. I'm just joking around. There's no wolf. No way.
Then a real wolf came.
What was that noise?
Her mother was in the house putting her baby sister to sleep.
Wolf, wolf, seriously.
But this time, her mother did not believe her. But no one came.
So those are my girls. So that, my friends, is why we tell the truth, okay? So here we have this shepherd girl, and she was not a very good shepherd. She was cute, but she was a terrible, terrible shepherd. So we asked tonight, what does a good shepherd do? A good shepherd, well, basically the job of a shepherd is to stare at their sheep all day long, and to anticipate their needs, to provide for them, to nurture them, to protect them. And think about this for a second. This is really strange that sheep need somebody to watch them all day. And this is because sheep are notorious for not really being the brightest of all animals. That actually they can be brought out into a pasture where they have everything that they need, food and water and protection, yet they still have this tendency to wander off. Does that sound familiar? Maybe like us. I actually saw this news story this week that was about this flock in Africa. And the shepherds, they took a break and they went to go and have a breakfast. Well, there was 1,500 sheep in this flock. And the first one just was walking along and fell off a cliff. So all the other sheep saw this sheep fall to his death. So they all just walked off the cliff too. They all just followed him down. And so the article said, the first 400, they fell to their death. And then after that, the other 1,100, as they jumped out, they had this nice soft landing place, of all of their sheep friends. And I just have this image, of them like falling off and bouncing, to safety. But this is what sheep tend to do. And lucky for us, we have a good shepherd who is never bored, who is never distracted, but who spends every moment thinking about you. He is completely enamored and obsessed with the thought of you, of providing for you, of nurturing you, of protecting you. And so Jesus calls himself the Good Shepherd in this narrative, but he says about the Good Shepherd that I know mine and mine know me. So as we enter into this conference weekend, I want to ask you, do you know him? Do you know him? And if you know him, then do you trust him? Do you trust him that he will provide for your every need, that he will protect you? Do you trust him enough to follow him blindly wherever he's going to lead you this weekend and for the rest of your life? And so to help you answer that question tonight, I would like to share a story with you. How many of you guys have ever been to Niagara Falls? Show of hands. Okay, so quite a few. I went to Niagara Falls when I was in college, and you see pictures of these giant waterfalls and you think those are really lovely. But when you're there in person and you experience it, it's hard to not be drawn in to the power and the beauty. I remember standing very close to the edge of the falls, behind the gate or the fence, and there you can see the water just rushing by, and actually 1 million bathtubs of water go over Niagara Falls every minute. That's the power of the falls. And so I remember watching this, and then as you're standing at the side, all this water is falling down below, but as it hits the bottom, this mist comes shooting up. I actually have a picture of it, if we could put that up on the screen, of the mist that comes shooting up from the falls, from that power. So as you know, in the late 1800s, Niagara Falls was like a thing, okay? It was like the fad of America. This was the time when people were getting in barrels or building other contraptions, going over the edge of the falls and then checking to see if they were still alive when they got to the bottom. And so at this time, news spread over to Europe of Niagara Falls. And so there was this man, and his name was the Great Blondin. And this is a true story. The Great Blondin heard about Niagara Falls, and he decided that he was going to complete the greatest feat of his tightrope walking career, and he was going to tightrope walk across Niagara Falls. So word spreads across America. People are all excited about what's about to happen. The Great Blondin, he comes and he finds this gigantic crowd, and he gets up onto this stone wall and he addresses his crowd. And he says to them, how many of you think that I can tightrope walk from one side of the falls to the other? And so it becomes pretty clear to the Great Blondin that pretty much everybody's there to watch him die, like to watch him fall to his death halfway through, and they're like, no, we do not believe that you can do this. So the Great Blondin, he gets up onto his tightrope, and slowly but surely, one step at a time, he makes his way all the way across Niagara Falls. And the crowd is holding their breath as they wait to find out what's going to happen. He reaches the other side, and he turns around and comes back. And the people are so excited. They're longing for hashtags at this moment. They want everybody to know what they have just seen and experienced. This is this big deal in pop culture in this time in America, right? So the Great Blondin gets up, and he addresses the crowd again, and he says to them, all right, how many of you think that I can make my way across Niagara Falls blindfolded? And the people are like, finally, we're going to get to see this guy fall off of his tightrope, right? They're all excited. He blindfolds himself, and they do not believe that he is going to be able to make it across the falls. True story, the great Blondin, he mounts his tightrope, and sure enough, as he walks across the falls and the wind is rushing and this mist is beating up against his body, step by step, he teeters and he makes it across the falls. And the great Blondin, he turns around back towards the crowd and finds himself on solid ground. And the crowd cannot believe what they have just seen. And he says to them, I have not yet completed the greatest feat of my career. And he looks over to the side, and there's a wheelbarrow that is sitting there, and it's full of bricks. And he says, how many of you think that I can take this wheelbarrow and I can push it on my tightrope across the falls? And the people still do not believe. And so the great Blondin takes the one wheel of this heavy wheelbarrow and slowly, to the people's amazement, he makes his way to the other side. And as he comes back to the other side, the crowd is beside themselves. They cannot believe what they have just witnessed. They are chanting his name. He is the biggest deal in the entire country. And so he gets up onto the wall again in his excitement, and he quiets the crowd down. And he says to them, you still haven't seen anything yet. He says to them, how many of you believe that I can take a human person and I can put them inside of this wheelbarrow and I can push them across the falls? And the people are so excited because they have seen. And they say, yes, you are the great Blondin. You can do anything. We believe, we have seen, we understand. And so the great Blondin, he looks at the crowd and he takes his wheelbarrow and he throws out the bricks and he looks at them and he says, who's coming? And true story, the crowd falls silent. And you guys, I think that this is a lot of us in this room tonight. That a lot of us have given most of our lives to Christ. We can trust him and we can be all in when we're at a Steubenville conference. We can trust him and be all in when we're with our youth groups or when we're at Mass on Sunday. But what about the times in our lives when it gets hard? And that's when Jesus asks us, what do you really believe about me? What do you really believe about me? Because the only thing that can paralyze God in his action on us, it's not material things, it's not his enemies, it's simply our lack of faith. The Catechism of the Catholic Church says that man has let trust in God die in his heart. Man has let trust in God die in his heart. And that sin is simply a lack of faith in God's goodness. That we go other places looking for goodness. And that this is what sin is. But the question that remains is what lies on the other end of the falls for you? What if? What if? What could be? And the answer to that question is simply limitless. That Christ has come and he wants to offer you abundant, limitless life, limitless love. And I don't know who you are. I don't know what you have brought here with you this weekend. I don't know if you have a solid family back at home, or if you're like me and you come from a broken family. I don't know if you're somebody who excels in academics and extracurricular activities, or if you're somebody who really struggles. I don't know if you have tons of friends and that you're super popular, or whether you're somebody who's lonely. I don't know what sins you've brought here, what your addictions are, your lack of being able to forgive yourself, or I don't know if you're doing okay. I don't know if you're a saint or if you're a sinner, but I know one thing. I know that whoever you are, wherever you are, that God wants to give you more this weekend. Because the difference between Christianity and every other religion in the world is that religion is defined as man seeking God. But Christianity is defined as God seeking man. This is what a good shepherd does. That the good shepherd is here, and he is looking for you. That the good shepherd wants to give you more. He wants to give you abundant life. And I think it's hard for us a lot of times in our lives and in our world that we live in to believe that the shepherd can be good, to believe that abundant life can be real, to believe that the good news is really good and not just okay news. But if we want to really be able to understand who God is and to believe that he is a God of abundance, all we have to do is step outside and look at his creation. That our God isn't just a God of abundance, he is a God of superabundance. He is a God of excess. He didn't just make one tree, and we all go on family vacations to see the tree, right? God made forests of trees. He didn't just make one lake that has the exact amount of water in it for the exact amount of people who are living in the world. God made oceans that are so vast and so deep that man-made vehicles can't even make it to the bottom to be able to explore. God didn't give us one star. One star. He gave us billions of galaxies. Think about that one for a second. Billions of galaxies. We live in the Milky Way galaxy. We're one of billions. Why? Why would God do that? Because our God is a God of excess. And we think about this limitlessness of God. And the way that he has shown that in creation, now imagine the limitless love, the abundant life that God wants to pour out on you this weekend. Beyond our understanding, beyond what we can wrap our minds around. And Jesus says in this passage that he is the good shepherd. He has come to give us abundant life. I know mine and mine know me, but he also says that he is the gate, that the good shepherd will lead the sheep through the gate to where they can be taken care of and where they can be protected. And he is that gate. The very heart of Christ is that gate. He says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And that's my invitation to you tonight. And the band's going to come back up here. We're going to take a moment to allow God to be God. To allow God to be good. To be the good shepherd in our lives. So I'd like to invite you to join me in prayer and to close your eyes. And just to invite the Lord, whatever it is that he wants for you. And the answers are limitless. To come and to be here tonight. Recently, my husband and I, we were praying together, and we were having some praise and worship, and we were singing this song by David Crowder, and the song is called Sometimes. And the refrain goes over and over again. It says, it's your love that we adore. It's like a sea without a shore. I'm lost in you. It's your love that we adore. It's like a sea without a shore. I'm lost in you. And we were talking about it afterwards, and I was explaining to him, this image of being lost in a sea without a shore is kind of terrifying, to be honest. Something that I have no control over, and that I just let the sea be the one who's in charge. But I'm tired of letting my fear hold me back. I'm tired of letting it paralyze God's action in my life. So I want to ask you tonight, will you join me? Will you join me in free falling into that limitless love? And letting it guide you and consume you. Will you find out tonight, what if? What if? what does God